You are listening to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, and this is Breaking the Ice, and it's just me here today, guys. It's Connor Cupin by myself.
Yeah!
I know, it's never happened before. I'm by myself today, so I'm a little sad, don't get me wrong. It's a little sad because I don't have anyone to talk to about the incredible Florida Panthers. I'm the last one standing. I was just thinking about that just now. What if we did my show, where once your team was eliminated, you were no longer allowed to come on? Then it would have been just me here for a couple weeks now. So even though I'm by myself today, it's certainly fitting. My team is the last team of the teams that are represented on this show still standing in these Stanley Cup playoffs, because we have the Stanley Cup final just 3 days away.
Hey, yo!
Let's go. Let's absolutely go. We are 3 days away. June 3rd is the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I'm pumped. I've never been more ready. Coupled that with the Miami Heat making to the NBA Finals, as a 305 sports fan, I'm on the top of the world right now. This Florida Panthers team, 42 wins in the regular season, 42-40. And since they were down 3-1 to the Bruins, it's been another beast. They've won 11 of 12 straight games. They've gone on this incredible run. Sergei Bobrovsky, everybody's clicking. Every player is doing the best thing ever. And it could not be happening at a better time. This team is legitimately incredible. I've never had a better time as a fan. And let's just get rolling. This team has exemplified what it's meant to be a Florida Panther and a team in the 305 over these past few years. This Florida Panthers team, last season, President's Trophy winners, 60-something wins. I think they got 59 or 58. But they had 113 points from my memory. And they beat the Washington Capitals in the first round, win their first playoff series since 1996. All is well. Everyone's up. Jonathan Huberdeau, Alexander Barkov, everyone's playing. That Panthers team we love and know. Tampa comes in, and they get him in 4, blitz him. The offense, the incredible offense this team was known for, gets shut down. And now, you go into the last offseason, it was disappointing. You trade away the franchise guy, Jonathan Huberdeau, Mr. Panther, the franchise leader in points, now surpassed by Alexander Barkov in this past season. But if he had kept playing in Florida, he would have still remained the franchise leader in points. That man, that was certainly heartbreaking. Certainly heartbreaking to do. Aww. You get rid of the franchise guy, the man who won everything, who did everything in the red and gold and blue with the Florida Panthers. Franchise leader in points, 116-point season, second all-star team, I believe twice in Florida. A monster, a true monster of the game. Mackenzie Weegar, one of the best defensemen, a 7th-round pick in 2015. He'd been there forever. He was a rock on D. Right across Aaron Ekblad, he's gone too. You give up also Cole Schwint and a 1st-round pick to the Calgary Flames in exchange for young and up-and-coming Matthew Tkachuk. At first, everyone's like, what a fleece by the Flames. Fantastic trade. Yeah. Fantastic, right?
He needs some milk.
That's Calgary right about now, sitting with less than 40 wins and didn't even make the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Florida Panthers are 4 wins away from their first Stanley Cup final victory ever. Bill Zito, phenomenal GM. Phenomenal GM. Underrated in the game. Got bashed for making that trade a bit. You trade away all that for Matthew Tkachuk? Is it going to be worth it? It was absolutely worth it. A Hart Trophy finalist, dropped over 100 points, plays every part of the game as well as possible. Can't even count how many overtime or just game-winning goals in general he's had in just this playoffs. He won Game 5 in overtime against Boston. And you take it to the Toronto series. Did he win any of the games in Toronto? Maybe he had a 1 or 2. Can't recall at this very moment if he did. But against Carolina, he won the first 2 games in overtime, and he won Game 4 at the very end of the game in the third period. He's been unreal. I've embodied him. I've never embraced a player so fast on any of my teams. Usually it takes years for me to be like, I love this player, and he is everything we need. It's been one season, and he is sort of like what Jimmy Butler is for the Heat. Just instant impact, instant winning. And he's already done so much more for this franchise that I don't even think Huberdeau and Weegar could begin to do for Calgary. They haven't done nothing there yet. Matthew Tkachuk has led this team, and it's not his team even. Alexander Barkov is the captain. He will always be the captain. He is the franchise leader in points. He will go down as the greatest Florida Panther ever. Most likely. But let's not pretend Matthew Tkachuk is not second fiddle and the best talent on the team. Gets it done on the ice. He might not have the locker room as the number one guy. He might even. But he certainly gets it done on the ice. Bill Zito makes that trade, and man, has it paid off. Brandon Montour as well. Unreal season. And Mason Marchment left? Cool. We got Nick Cousins. Not saying Nick Cousins is on that level of mush. But he certainly has done his part on that second line in Florida to an incredible extent. Eetu Luostarinen now up third line playing winger. Done a great job. Claude Giroux's gone. Ben Sherratt were the rentals last year. Don't need them. It's fine. We got everything we could ask for and more. Sergei Bobrovsky having the best season moment ever as a Florida Panther. This team is ready, and they get the Vegas Golden Knights as the team they're going to play. Now, you want to talk about Vegas? This is a team who has been unstoppable the whole time that they've been in the NHL so far. Their first season, Stanley Cup final. Like, who does that? What team does that? Stanley Cup final in your first year ever as a franchise. Like, okay, that's an anomaly, right? The Vegas Golden Knights did very well in that expansion draft of theirs. So much so they built a cup final, a Western Conference championship team in one season. Their opening season. Their next season, 2019. I believe they had a down year, and they still made the playoffs. And that's the whole thing. They made the Stanley Cup final in 2018. In 2019, they were the third seed in the Pacific, but they got taken down in the first round by the San Jose Sharks. So it was just one of those, hey, it's a down year. We will be back. Because what happens in 2020, Western Conference Finals, they get taken down by the Dallas Stars, who they just got revenge on 3 years later. You want to look at it that way, I think it's the best way to look at it. They get taken down by Dallas in 2021. Western Conference Finals yet again. And the Montreal Canadiens, playing out west, because the Canada division was in the west. They take care of business, become the biggest underdog ever. Bigger underdog than this year's Florida Panthers, honestly, because that Canadiens team was quite literally a 30-something win team. They had more losses than wins. They were just the fourth best Canadian team. And they did work. They did absolute work all the way. So, I think that Vegas team is certainly a really prominent team and a great foe. A phenomenal foe. 2022, they missed the playoffs for the first time in history. And it was a great thing because the fans did not know what that was like. They had been in the league for 4 seasons, made the playoffs every year, Western Conference Finals 3 out of 4 years. Like, it was ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, they needed 1 year of what every other franchise goes through. Sitting back, relaxing on the couch. Because it has to happen at some point. But this year, they just completely right back, and now they're in the Stanley Cup final. Like, wow. Because let's look at what they've done this year in the playoffs. Vegas, first round, lost the first game to Winnipeg. Doesn't matter. Saudi Arabia beat Argentina in the first game of the World Cup in the group stages. Wow, incredible. It's affected them so much. Vegas looked bad in that first game. But that does not matter. They took care of business, gentlemen swept Winnipeg, and won 4 games in a row. 5-2, 5-4, 4-2, and 4-1. The offense was prevalent, and the defense as well. Except for the second OT game, Game 3, incredible play there by both squads. I love it. I love it. Good for Vegas. Second round, Edmonton Oilers. Everybody looked like they had Vegas Edmonton because Connor McDavid and the boys are not going down lightly. Not to the LA Kings, at least. Vegas took care of business when it came to Winnipeg. So now here you have Edmonton. But what's the problem with Edmonton? No one ever sees the Oilers as that team that's going to just run 97 and 29 through the ground with no backups. Because that's exactly what happened. They ran out of steam. 6-4 Vegas win Game 1. Edmonton came crazy in Game 2 and 4, but Vegas came crazy in Game 3, so we're tied up 2-2. Game 5. Vegas wins that one. Edmonton up 2-1 after the first period, and then Vegas scores 3 goals in a minute and a half. Mark Stone, Riley Smith, Nicholas Hague. 4-2 Vegas, third period, and Connor McDavid scores, but that's not enough. Vegas wins that game, and now on to Game 6 in that series, and they blitz them. 5-2. Jonathan Marchessault scored a hat trick in just the second period alone. Then they get the Dallas Stars. Dallas would have been cool to see in the final. Dallas, first game, overtime. Brett Howden, game winner. Second game, Vegas wins in 3-2 in overtime. That one's a winner by Chandler Stevenson. And in Game 3, they win 4-0. It was domination. Vegas was killing Dallas in every phase of the game. Every phase of the game. And then Dallas does not back down. Game 5 goes to overtime, and Joe Pavelski does it for the boys. Captain America gets a goal. And now it's 3-1 Vegas. Game 5. Dallas, yet again, pulling another trick out. Ty Dellandrea. Phenomenal game. 2 goals in the third period, both within a minute and a half of each other. And that is how Dallas ended up forcing a Game 6. But that's the thing. It doesn't matter how momentum is. You have to have crazy momentum in the playoffs to go on a run like that and come back down 3-0. Only 2 teams have ever done it in NHL history. And in Game 6, Vegas mollywopped them 6-0. William Carrier, William Karlsson, Keegan Kolesar, Marchessault, William Karlsson, Michael Amadio, all goal scorers in this game. And that's the exact goal order it went. William Karlsson dropping 2 goals. Vegas team went crazy. Amadio and Carrier, 2 points each. Karlsson had 3. Kolesar had 2. Riley Smith had 2 assists. They just came different that day. And Aiden Hill, 23 shots, 23 save shutout, because that Vegas defense was on fire in the first and second period. This is going to be a finals matchup for the ages. A first-time Stanley Cup winner will be crowned in the year 2023. And I'm ready for that. Nothing like a first-time winner. The Florida Panthers have made the playoffs. Let's do this comparison. The Florida Panthers have made the playoffs. I believe, since I've been watching them, they've made it 4 times. They've made it 5 times. The Las Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights have been around for now 6 seasons. This is year 6 for them, and they've made the playoffs 5 times, which is ridiculous. They've made the Western Conference Finals 4 times, and they've won it twice. They made the Stanley Cup Final twice. Like, that is a wild thing. Where I believe the Florida Panthers, first off, Vegas has more playoff series wins than Florida, which is a little bit sad, honestly. Vegas has been around for 6 years, and if I do the math correctly, 3 playoff series wins, and then another 2, and then another 2, and then this year they have 3. So that's 10. Florida has 3, 4, I believe they have 7 in their entire franchise history. And Vegas has 10 in the past 6 years. So that's one way to look at it. If you want to talk about consistency of being one of the better teams in the league versus, having a good season. But who cares? It's all about the rings, baby. That's all that no one really cares about. Who can get the job fully done? I'd rather have one great season than 10 years of almost being the best. And now one of these teams has a chance to finish that off. One of these teams, Vegas either becomes one of the best expansion team ever, or Florida gets their first ring ever and has one of the greatest stories ever. And I'm a Cats fan. I'm ready. I'm ready for the challenge. The Florida Panthers have made the playoffs. Let's see. They were division champs in 2012, which is also really sad because they were division champs in 2012 and 2016, and they lost in the first round both those years. Which, that's just rough. That's just absolutely rough. You want to talk about how this team has been in the playoffs, season by season. Let's go right here. Year by year. They did bad in their first 2 seasons in the league. Then they went to the Stanley Cup Final in 96. That's the legendary year. Next year, they lost in the conference final. Then they missed the playoffs 2 years. Then they made it. I think they lost in the conference quarterfinal yet again. Oh, I made mistakes. They lost in the first round twice. So they made it to the playoffs 3 times before the year 2000, I believe. Or 2000 was the 3rd time they made it. Then they did not make the playoffs for 10 plus years. They did not make the playoffs for 10 straight seasons. And then they made it in 2012 when they won the Southeast. And they won the Southeast Division. And they lost to the New Jersey Devils in the conference quarterfinals, which is also known as the first round, which is I believe they were the wild card team that year. So it's unfortunate. 2016 when they moved to the Atlantic Division. In 2014 they moved to the Atlantic, but 2016 was their first time. They lost in the first round to the New York Islanders. Then if you want to count 2020, which doesn't count because they were like the 12th seed in the East, so forget that. Then they made it. I think they made the playoffs 8 times now. And these last 2 years have been good, but this year is the best year in franchise history so far. When they made it in 96, they got swept by the Avs. So if they just win 1 game in these Stanley Cup Finals, it is officially the best season in Florida Panthers history. And honestly, I'm willing to bet it already is considered the best season in Florida Panthers history right now. We're living in it. We're living in the best season ever.
That's my opinion!
It's not an opinion, it's a fact. It's a fact. I can promise you, we're going to watch some of the best hockey ever. Because this Vegas team is good. You got Jack Eichel in a Stanley Cup final.
Hey, yo!
Who would have ever thought you would have seen that with the way his career was going in Buffalo? Nobody would have ever guessed you'd be watching Jack Eichel in a Stanley Cup final right now. But here we are. He did it. He finally made it over the hump, and he was with the Vegas Golden Knights. It's Vegas versus Florida. I don't think anyone would have seen this coming at the beginning of the playoffs, but here we are. And the whole country's rooting for the Cats, except for that little strip in Vegas, who's rooting for the Golden Knights. The whole country, and maybe the Lightning fans as well, and like the Leafs fans and the Hurricanes fans are rooting for Vegas as well because they got knocked out by the Cats, which, by the way, some of the best hockey I've ever seen. Sergei Bobrovsky, you deserve everything. You've been a phenomenal goaltender. Matthew Tkachuk's been on fire. Carter Verhaeghe, Sam Reinhart, Sam Bennett, Radko Gudas, Gustav Forsling, Aaron Ekblad, everybody is putting in the work. They're putting in the work, and they're just winning everything. They're winning everything, and here are the dates for the Stanley Cup Final. Game 1 this Saturday, June 3rd. Everybody be ready for that one because that's going to be a phenomenal game. We're going to have some phenomenal game play. And Cats for the first win, game 1. Game 2 follows on Monday, June 5th. And then we get a 2-day break for when they head back to South Florida. Game 3, Thursday, June 8th, and Saturday, June 10th, Game 4. Then, only another 3-day break between games every day after that. If Game 5 happens, if Game 6 happens, and if Game 7 happens. Tuesday, June 13th, Friday, June 16th, and lastly, Monday, June 19th. The possible last game for the Stanley Cup Final. We've got a long way to go. There's a chance we're having this show running with Stanley Cup Final coverage for another 2 weeks. It could be 1 week. Well, at least 2 more weeks. It could be 3 more weeks. I don't know. I do not know how far this is going to get. But we will have a Stanley Cup champion soon. And that first season of Breaking the Ice is going to officially be over. But I think this is the best way for it to ever happen. You have my favorite team in the Stanley Cup Final in the first year of this show existing. I couldn't have asked for anything better than that. That's exactly what I want. You need that. I need that. It's like this show is the blessing that has given me this Florida Panthers run. Been incredible. Let's look at some stats. Let's look at some stats from these playoffs. Florida style and Vegas style. So you want to talk about Sergei Bobrovsky. He should be he's slashing somewhere. Let's look at his goaltending stats. Sergei Bobrovsky is slashing a .935 save percentage. 93.5% of the shots he faces, he saves, which is a ridiculous clip. That's championship level goaltending. Offensively, let's get into some of the skaters. So, in the postseason, there have been a bunch of skaters. 16 games the Florida Panthers have played, and a bunch of guys have played all 16. Some played 15, some played 14, 9, 8. Zach Dalby's played 9, Ryan Lauberg's played 8. You see Givani Smith and Casey Fitzgerald suit up for 1 each. Most of the guys have been out there every single day, though. The leader in points, Matthew Tkachuk, 21 points in 16 games. He has 9 goals and 12 assists in 16 games in these playoffs. Unreal. Conn Smythe, here you go. Carter Verhaeghe, 15 points in 16 games. 6 goals, 9 assists. Point per game, almost on average, and those are the kind of numbers you need. Alexander Barkov's putting up 14 points. Sam Bennett, 11. Sam Reinhart, 11. Even Anthony Duclair has 9. Brandon Montour has 9. Anton Lundell has 7. And these guys are playing phenomenal hockey. The offense might not be putting up 5 goals a game, but they're doing it. They're bringing it on the defensive end. If we look at some defensive stats, see, what's hard is those stats aren't as easily accessible. Defensive stats, they're kind of odd to look at. But it's whatever. I know this team is getting hits on hits on hits. The Florida, in this postseason, has scored 50 goals to their opponent's 43. And they have 1 shutout game all playoffs long. It was Game 3 against Carolina. And if you want to look at penalty minutes, they have 203 penalty minutes to their opponent's 201. So they're doing pretty solid. They're doing a pretty solid job of matching all the opponents penalty-wise. 1 major, 69 minor penalties. It's been all right. It's been fine. And I think this team could totally take down Vegas. Let's look at each player on both teams and how they even got there. So with Florida, that line 1 is Alexander Barkov, Anthony Duclair, Carter Verhaeghe. Barkov's been the guy since 2013. I believe when he got drafted, he's been there forever. He's a rock. He's the greatest cat of all time. Carter Verhaeghe has turned into a sniper. A 42-goal season this year. Been incredible. Anthony Duclair had that Achilles injury, and he came back, and he had a slow start, but now he's turning it up in these playoffs. Second line, Nick Cousins, Sam Bennett, Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk, the replacement for Jonathan Huberdeau, and boy, has that been a blessing. I don't need to talk about that no more. It's a Hart Trophy finalist. It's going to be NHL All-First team. First All-Star team for the NHL. Sam Bennett. Traded a second-round pick for him back in 2021. Little did we know he'd be right here, being the center number 2, a top 6er on this championship team. incredible value. The Lorax has been putting in work. He's done constant job, and they can't do this without him. Nick Cousins, the replacement for Claude Giroux in a way, because Claude Giroux was a top sixer last year, and he's gone. So they signed Nick Cousins, and he's filled that role on the wing in the second line, and he's done a phenomenal job of doing so. Line 3, Anton Lundell, Sam Reinhart, Eetu Loistainen. Mason Marchment was gone, so Loistainen filled his shoes in line 3 in the exact same spot with Lundell and Reinhart. And Loistainen has done a phenomenal job. He's getting better every year. He's one of my favorite players on this team. A homegrown Cat talent. Love everything about his game. Anton Lundell, getting better, was injured, but he's that third-line center. He's replenished his role just from last year. And Sam Reinhart, an incredible third-line presence. He's one of the best players on this team. He's line 3. That should let you know how good and how deep this offense is. He's been incredible on the power play, and he is a top sixer playing in the bottom 6. That's how good of a team we have. Line 4, Eric Stahl, Ryan Lomberg, Colin White. Eric Stahl has quite literally been the new Loistainen. There were some questions early on in the season of why he's on the roster. Oh, blah, 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 blah. He shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be out there. What is going on? But no. Eric Stahl has done a great job as the fourth centerman on this team. He gets the job done. The fourth line is just there. Their job is to not mess up, not allow easy goals. And if they can steal a goal here and there, it's the best feeling when your fourth line gets one in. Ryan Lomberg, these playoffs, he almost won Game 1 against Carolina, and he scored a goal in Game 4. He's been on fire, and he's been there for years now. He's the enforcer guy. We need that energy. And Colin White's been solid. And even the fifth guys, Zach Dalpe, scored a huge goal against the Boston Bruins. One of the biggest goals of the playoffs, and he doesn't even get top 4 line time. He's there, though, and he's making his impact felt. He's played in 9 of the games in these playoffs. He's the first guy on the ice when someone gets hurt. He is that first guy inserted into the lineup. Constantly there, constantly providing that power. And he scored against Boston in Game 6. Clutch performance from the guy. And now the D-men, Aaron Ekblad and Gustav Forsling. Ekblad might not be having the best year of his career, but he's still this team's number 1 defenseman. And he brings it every way possible. He's always there. He's the franchise. He's the one who signed on the 8-year deal. He's got the franchise contract. And he plays like it. Gustav Forsling, a waiver pickup 2 years ago, who's turned into an absolute steal, brings the hustle, brings the pressure, defensively scores here and there. He's put in goals, and he's incredible. One of the best waiver pickups I've ever seen. D2, Brandon Montour and Mark Stahl. Brandon Montour has a 73-point season this year. He's been unreal. He has filled the shoes Mackenzie Weegar left behind. Even though it's technically Forsling, because Forsling is now in his shoes, Brandon Montour has taken his game to the next level. He's taken his game to the next level. Offensively, he's a threat. He saved the season against Boston in Game 7. He scored that game-tying goal in the final minute. And Mark Stahl, he's done work. He's put in the work to be D2 across from Montour. He's got a great defensive presence, and the Stahl brothers getting it done. D3 is Josh Maher or Radko Gudas. Radko Gudas is great. Hits people constantly year 3. He's part of this core. He's going to be on this team if we get it done. He brings the defensive edge. He brings that pressure, throwing his body everywhere. And Josh Maher is the great guy to round out this group. And then in goal, Sergei Bobrovsky. All the trash talked about his contract being terrible. How this was such a terrible idea for them to sign him to that huge deal. He didn't have a great first year. His second year in Florida, he was okay, but it was really Spencer Knight that did the best when it came playoff time, and Chris Driedger was outperforming Sergei Bobrovsky. Last year, Sergei Bobrovsky came alive, especially in the playoffs and down the stretch in the regular season. Spencer Knight was cool too, but Sergei Bobrovsky was the one that won the most of the games last year. And then this year, Bobrovsky has some struggles. He takes a back seat. Spencer Knight gets to game time and he's doing work. And it looked like maybe Bobrovsky was on the way to the bench. And he was benched for a while. And then Spencer Knight entered the player assistance program, which we hope you get better, my man, and get the help you need. Because we still miss you and hope you were on the team for this championship run. But Sergei Bobrovsky has a resurgence in these playoffs. Because to the end of the regular season, Alex Lyon came in there, and that man deserves all the credit in the whole wide world. Alex Lyon is the reason they made that late season push so well and made it to the playoffs. He might have lost the last game against Carolina, and against Toronto they might have lost as well. But against Washington, he was great. Against Ottawa, he was phenomenal. Against Buffalo, he was phenomenal. Against Columbus, a shutout. Against Toronto, he was even great too. They won 6 straight games in that little stretch to make the playoffs. They even beat Boston way back in January with Alex Lyon in net. And that was right there, the moment where they were going to wait and see what this kid can do. But Bobrovsky got hurt at the end of March. March 29th. Alex Lyon's first game where he was really the guy, and he wins his 6 straight starts. And there was a little help from the Chicago Blackhawks. Thank you, Chicago Blackhawks. You guys helped incredibly. There's nothing quite like making the playoffs and in the most thrilling way, the Chicago Blackhawks win a game and knock out the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm sorry, AJ, it just had to be that way because if this was the Penguins, we wouldn't be having such a great playoffs.
Bruh.
It's just a fact. It's just a fact. The Penguins would not be able to do what the Cats are doing right now, which is wild. The 8th seed is now back. The 8th seed is a great thing to have in these NHL playoffs, proven by this right here, the fact the Cats are in the Stanley Cup final. This is proof that the NHL playoff field is not too big and that there are not too many games. The first round should absolutely be 7 games because clearly every game was needed to determine the best team against Boston. If it was a 5-game series, who knows where it would be right now? Boston would have made the second round, played Toronto. Who knows what would have happened? But here we are because it's a 7-game series. The NHL playoffs are the best. It should be 7-game series all throughout, and I'm so thankful it is that way and that there are 8 seeds each because it's all so useful. This year, even in sports, has proven that playoff seeding does not matter. The more the merrier. Any of those seeds are still playoff teams. Look at the Heat and the Panthers. 2 8 seeds from the 305 in the finals. People were talking about whether the 8 seed was a good thing to have or not. It's clearly worth it now. The 8 seed is never going away after this season. Never going away after this season. They're going to take that identity. No one believes in you. You're the 8 seed. You only won 42 games in the regular season. What are you going to do about it? You got the 65-win Boston Bruins in front of you. And here you are. You're going to have to go out there and everyone is watching to see if you can even come close. And then you're down 3-1. Everyone's like, yeah, it's a wrap. Boston in 5, blah, 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 blah. The amount of people I had on this Breaking the Ice panel with Boston winning the championship. Campbell and Nem, I'm looking right at you, but not actually. I'm looking at the levels. But, you know, y'all had Boston. Nem didn't even have her own team making out the first round. That's an L. That's an L right there. You got to have faith, and you got to at least be real. It's not just faith. The Devils did take down the Rangers. You got to have that. And I had that with Florida against Boston. People don't understand. The regular season is important. It's a great gauge on how teams will be. Florida playing Boston in the regular season won 2 games and lost 2 games. We were 2. The Florida Panthers were 2 of Boston's 17 losses in the regular season, which means come playoff time, they were going to match up well. And that's exactly what happened. Cats in 7, as you all saw. And they embodied that identity of nobody believes but us. Take down the Leafs in 5. Take down the Canes in 4. And now we're about to take down Vegas in 6. I said it. That's my claim. That's going to be my claim to fame. Cats in 6. But let's talk about Vegas too. We can't just shy away from Vegas. And we can't even shy away from a game-by-game breakdown of everything that's happened since last week's episode. So we're going to take a game-by-game little breakdown here with the Foghorn to get us right into it. Since last week's episode, it was quite literally on the day of Game 4. Cats versus Canes. I'm watching Game 4, and I went even bowling that night, so I'm watching it at the bowling alley. First period, Anthony Duclair scores the first goal, and I go crazy. And then Matthew Tkachuk scores a power play goal halfway through the first, and it's like, here we are. Here we are. Florida on the verge of the Stanley Cup final. Paul Stastny scores one for the Canes. It's 2-1. It's 2-1 Cats. You know, heading into the second period. I'm fine with it. Second period. Teuvo Teravainen. This man's a good player. And he ties the game up with a slap shot almost 3 minutes in. And I was like, all right, we're tied. Whatever. And then Ryan Lomberg. I love this guy so much. He is the enforcer guy. Like, you have the fourth line guys who just get things done. And that's exactly what he brings to this Florida Panthers team. Because you just work hard. He works hard in this one possession. Colin White, Eric Stahl on his line too. They get him the puck, and it's an easy goal. Just phenomenal puck movement. Pass, shot. Easy goal, 3-2. Third period goes. Keep in mind, I'm in the car now. Watching the third period, listening to the third period. Because I'm driving. Power play, not a power play, but Carolina's bringing the intensity, and Jesper Fast scores this really cool goal to tie the game with just over 3 minutes left, and I'm like, oh, brother. Like, come on. I'm like,
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
but that's not the case. Because I know, in that moment, I'm like, man, overtime for real? Nah. Final minute, Cats draw a penalty. They have a power play for the rest of regulation. You gotta cash in. Towards the net, Alexander Barkov, Sam Reinhart, trying to make plays. Matthew Tkachuk gets it behind the net, does one circle. You had Sam Bennett clog the lane. Tkachuk fires this wrister, and the whole place goes crazy. Absolutely crazy. No overtime needed. You just need the last 6 seconds of a game. And that moment right there, Paul Maurice fired up. This whole team fired up. But there's a replay because Sam Bennett's stick was right around, I believe goaltending was Freddie Anderson that day. Sam Bennett was right around him that whole game. And especially in that last period, his stick was wedged in between his pads. So they're looking for goalie interference. The call was a good goal. Tkachuk erupted. The entire FLA Live arena went crazy. And they were on to their first Stanley Cup final, which, hey, Alexander Barkov touched the conference final trophy. He touched it, guys. But that's looked like a good thing in the East in recent years, so we'll see how that one works out for them. And the very next day, we had Dallas versus Vegas Game 4. Yes, I believe it was Game 4 that went to overtime, and Dallas took that one. So this game, William Karlsson, Jason Robertson, goals in the first. Joe Pavelski scores the overtime winner, and then I've already gone through this. Dallas won 2 more games, and then they got destroyed on Monday, on Memorial Day. And that sets up here. The 1 seed in the West, not the whole West, but, well, I believe they are the 1 seed in the entire Western Conference. The Vegas Golden Knights had the most points of any team out West. Let me check. Yeah, they did 111 points, most points out of any team out West. Versus the 92-point Florida Panthers. The 51-win Vegas Golden Knights taking on the 42-win Cats. But you want to know something? I don't care. The 65-win Bruins couldn't do it. The 50-win Leafs couldn't do it, and the 52-win Hurricanes couldn't do it. So why is this going to be any different? This doesn't matter. You got a team who's ready and a fan who's ready to watch their guys go into battle. I bought my Matthew Tkachuk jersey off DHgate. I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. I hope it comes before this game. I really want to wear that jersey. So bad. But aside from that, that's all we got for the Stanley Cup Final. Everyone, just be ready. We're about to have an incredible series on the way, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see what becomes of this series. It's going to be regardless. We're going to have a first-time Stanley Cup winner. But go Cats, baby. Cats in 6. But there's a lot more going around the league. Aside from just, you got first teams out here doing their things. You got all the offseason moves being made by teams. So let's get into some of those. And the first one I want to get into is quite literally the Nashville Predators coaching situation. Yesterday, they fired John Hines. After 4 years, and it was an interesting offseason for the Nashville Predators thus far, Barry Trotz, the new GM, he left Hines' status up in the air for a few weeks now, but the reports indicated that he could still make a change, and looks like they were searching for a head coach this whole time, because John Hines has been fired. He once was the Devils head coach. He took over for Peter Laviolette, into 2020, and he's had a pretty good stint with the Predators, not going to lie. He's had a pretty solid 134 wins, and he had 113 losses. He missed the playoffs this year, but sadly it wasn't enough. His group got fired, and the replacement is none other than Bruno himself. Andrew Brunette is the new head coach of your Nashville Predators. I'm about to be a secondary fan. Bruno is always going to have a special place in my heart as the coach who was a Jack Adams finalist and the guy who led the team to the President's Trophy winning season. Granted, they lost in the second round, which is, still really rough to fathom, but whatever. Woo-wee! Andrew Brunette is their new head coach. Barry Trotz took him in because they were looking up for an upgrade all this whole time, and Andrew Brunette is now the guy they chose for. He's only 49 years old, and this is the first time he'll be a full-time head coach. When he came in for Florida as the interim head coach, it was because Coach Quenneville got fired. Joel Quenneville was fired, and now Andrew Brunette, 49, gets his first full-time head coaching chance. A Jack Adams finalist with the Cats, as said before, 51-24 that year after he replaced Quenneville. But he didn't get the long-term job for Florida because of the second round, sweep from the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then he was Lindy Ruff's main right-hand guy in New Jersey this year, and they had a great season. Florida decided to go with Paul Maurice, and baby, it's looking great so far. Paul Maurice got that team to the Stanley Cup Final. But for Andrew Brunette's sake, he did score the first goal in Predators history when he was coached by Barry Trotz back in the day when he was still a player, which is one way to look at it. It's come full circle. They are now the top two guys in Nashville. David Poile and John Hines are both gone. David Poile, John Hines, both gone. You have Barry Trotz, and you have Andrew Brunette. I'm excited if I'm Nashville. I'm genuinely excited. You got UC Saros still. You have Roman Josi still. You still got pieces you can work with. You got a haul for Tanner Jeannot, which we completely bashed constantly on this show. Was a terrible trade. So if you're in Nashville, you got to be excited. Because now you got Bruno and Barry Trotz. Those are two great figures to have. Bruno has never had been a coach, but it's always those guys. So everyone starts somewhere. All those great coaches, they started somewhere. You don't need experience necessarily. You could be the next guy up. And this might be the start of something great for Nashville. As long as they don't beat Florida, I'm all here for it. But moving on now, we got one more thing here. Kyle Dubas got fired by the Toronto Blue Jays. The Toronto Maple Leafs fired Kyle Dubas. Why would they do that? It was not his fault. But the new hire, Brad Treliving, the new GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yesterday, Toronto was closing in on a deal with this man, and the Leafs have that deal done. The former Flames GM and Kyle Dubas' replacement is Brad Treliving. The two parted ways back in April after 9 years, which included 5 playoff appearances for him, and of course the selection of Matthew Tkachuk in 2016 to the eventual trading of Matthew Tkachuk for, Mackenzie Weegar and Cole Schwindt and Jonathan Huberdeau and a first, which is a solid haul, but it ain't working out so well, bro. He tried to retool Calgary last offseason, once Johnny Gaudreau left, but I don't know, because Tkachuk said he wanted out, and the Flames missed the playoffs. Now the pressure's going to be on this guy to see if he can do the same thing for Toronto, but Toronto's different. They just got to run it back. And a couple shots go their way differently. Their players have to perform, though. Austin Matthews has 1 year left on his contract in Toronto. Then he can go anywhere he pleases. So they got to really make this right. They got one shot guaranteed. Unless they re-sign Matthews, you got one shot to get everything in order, get all your ducks in a row, and take care of business for Toronto.
Bing bang.
But now there's some more. The Washington Capitals, too, found their new head coach. Alexander Ovechkin has another guy here. Spencer Carberry is a new head coach for the Washington Capitals. 41 years old. He's been a head coach for 10 years, though, not in the NHL. He was an ECL head coach as a 29-year-old in 2011. You believe that? He's been an AHL head coach and OHL head coach in the years that have come since then. And he got his coaching start with the Washington Capitals. But this is a guy who, only 41 years old, has a crazy amount of experience and has been a head coach. Even if it's not at the NHL level, still knows what it takes to lead a team of guys. And now he gets a shot. And now here he is, back as the head coach of the Washington Capitals. The Toronto Maple Leafs brought him on as an assistant in 2021, but now he's back with the Capitals. Peter Laviolette's replacement, as he was fired by the Caps himself, and Washington will be looking to bounce back because Alexander Ovechkin only has so many great years left, and he's on that chase for the all-time goals record. But he's not declining. So even though he might, you can say Father Time will catch up eventually, it hasn't happened yet. So don't bet on it just yet. He might be able to get it done. For real. And now, with them missing the playoffs in 2023, they haven't won a playoff series since they won the Cup. But this is a real chance for them now. They can take care of business, and I'm happy for them. They got their guy. All the NHL players, teams seem to be figuring themselves out pretty solidly. All the things are getting done, and the big stuff's happening. The big stuff is happening, so I'm going to take a quick break here on 90.3 WMSC Montclair, WMSC Upper Montclair. And when we come back, we're going to be discussing a little more with the NHL, and I'll catch you guys up on the IAHF World Championships as well, so stay tuned. We are back here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. This is Breaking the Ice. I'm your host, Connor Cuban, by myself because my team is the only one left. Yeah! Wouldn't have it any other way, but that's actually a lie. I really wish I had some people here with me, but you know what? That's what happens during the summertime when you're by yourself. So, we're going to roll into another side topic here. The IIHF had the World Championships, and the tournament is over with a certain team being crowned champion. Justin Brady was right, everybody. He called it. He was correct. And let's just get right into what everybody missed out on in the IIHF. So the quarterfinals, my mistake, was the first set of games that didn't happen yet. U.S. beat Czechia 3-0, and that's to be expected. The Americans have that power. And Switzerland with the upset. Germany with the upset over Switzerland. Germany beat Switzerland 3-1. This is a team, Jonas Siegenthaler on that team, and Nico Hischier, 2 Devils players, and many more. You got on this team Kevin Fiala, also playing for Switzerland. Like, it's a stronger lineup. It's a stronger lineup. And this Germany team, with Moritz Seider on their team, took care of business. Won 3-1 in a game where no one gave them a chance. A game where not a single person, maybe other than the Germans themselves, gave their team a chance to win this thing. And that's incredible. Max Kastner, a 5-point game. Because I believe how points work in these, I believe how points work, 2 goals for a point. A goal is 2 points and an assist is 1 point. I believe that's how the points are scored in IHF as far as that goes, because that's the only way this makes any sort of sense, because Jonas Siegenthaler had 2 points and Switzerland had 1 goal, so it had to be he scored the 1 goal, because otherwise that makes absolutely no sense. It makes no sense if that's the case. But, yeah, Siegenthaler did score the 1 goal, and then Kastner scored, I believe, 2 goals for Germany. So phenomenal game from Max Kastner, and Germany gets the upset on Switzerland in the quarterfinal. Canada beats Finland. I wanted the Finns to win so bad, but Canada lives up to the fact that they are that team. Sam Montembeault slashed a .938. This is Montreal's goaltender, guys, and a former Florida Panther at that. And Montembeault did work. He put in work. Timu Hartikainen, 5-point night for Finland. So, but this doesn't make any sense, because I don't understand how the points are scored in IHF. Because how do you score 5 points? There was 1 goal for Finland the whole game, so he probably scored the goal, and there was probably other stuff that goes into the scoring. I don't know how it works. I should have looked it up, but we out here a little bit lazy. We didn't feel like looking everything up. And you know what? It's fine. It's honestly it's fine. It's fine. So Canada lives up to the fact that they are that country. They are the hockey country. They are the Mecca. And they win yet again a quarterfinal game. And then Latvia beating Sweden. Phenomenal game. Merzlikins, the goaltender for Columbus, was saying how proud he was of his team and how now people will take his country seriously, and Latvia couldn't have done a better job. Because Richards Bucharts, 11-point game, so the scoring has to be something wild, because I don't know how you could drop 11 points in a game where your team scored 3 goals. I'm missing something there, but whatever. 3-1 victory, and I believe there was a celebration for the team once Latvia won this game. 100,000 Latvians filled the streets to celebrate, and that is quite literally 10% of the country. They have 1 million people there. They went crazy for their team. They love their team, and they beat Sweden. Incredible feat. Incredible feat for this team, because this is a team with Rudy Balcers. Shout out Rudy Balcers there, as you were listening to Breaking the Ice here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. Shout out Rudy Balcers, and shout out Latvia. You got to win the greatest win ever. Semifinals now. They have to run into Canada, sadly. Canada, Latvia. And Canada pulls off, because come on now. Like, it's just unfortunate for them, you know what I mean? Like, what are they to do? They can win, of course, but Canada's team, like, Mackenzie Weegar, you have Cody Glass, you have Milan Lucic, Adam Fantilli in the starting lineup, and your goaltender Sam Montembeault. Like, these guys are NHLers. You got multiple NHLers here. They have Rudy Balcers over there for the Latvian squad. I'm aware of that. But, like, it's still ridiculous. You can't do everything. Tyler Toffoli on that Canada team. Like, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much that can get done. And Canada pulls through, wins 4-2, but the big one, Germany, overtime winner against the United States. Overtime winner for Germany. Keep in mind, the IIHF app is so poorly used. I can't really figure it out, but here. The game winner for Germany, Frederick Tiffelis. Frederick Tiffels, game winner for Germany, 4-3, upset the Americans, Germany-Canada final. Oh, man, the whole world was probably rooting for Germany. Except for Justin Brady, who was like, yeah, Team Canada, woohoo, Team Canada, woo! Congratulations, kid, you got it done.
Oh, yeah!
Bronze medal game. This is where the 100,000 Latvians came to paradise and celebrated. Latvia, America. The bronze medal game. Overtime game winner for the Latvians. Overtime game winner from Kristaps Rubins. 25 years old, and he did it. He plays for the Calgary Wranglers in Canada. But what a way. You upset the Americans, and you take the bronze medal. It's a phenomenal feat right there for a player of his stature. And then Canada takes down Germany to win the whole thing. Yes, you heard it right, guys. The Canadians won the IIHF World Championships.
Yeah! Yeah!
They're just the team to beat. Sam Montembeault did his job, only allowed 2 goals, and Game 64, the Canadians are on top of the world yet again. As far as the World Championships go, and these tournaments, they get really into it. We love some international hockey right here. And that's the IHF now, Latvia, Germany, get to stand tall. And then there's teams like Finland and Sweden who are disappointed in their country's efforts, or would wish next time they go around they could have a better outcome. And the Americans, they've got 4th place, but they got beat by the Latvians. If you're Latvia, you're feeling good. If you're Germany, you're feeling good. Bronze and silver medals to teams they didn't even think would get medals. If you're Switzerland, you want another shot when you go back years to come. If you're Sweden, if you're Finland, you want another shot when you go back years to come from now. Even next year. But it's great. It's been a good show. And that right there is the IIHF coverage you're going to get here on Breaking the Ice. Congratulations to Team Canada. Mackenzie Weegar, love you forever. So now that I've covered the IIHF, we're going to take another quick break here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, but when we come back, I'm going to do it. I'm going all 2 hours by myself, so stay tuned, everybody. We are back here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, breaking the ice. We got 50 minutes left. I'm doing it by myself because I want to prove to myself I can do it. I know I can do it. I have the skills to take this show by myself because I am this show. That's not true. I have a great cast, a lovely cast. And let's just get into one more thing now I want to do for the last time I'm here. We have 49 minutes. We're going to go through every team in the NHL and what they got to do to win a championship. Top to bottom. I'll spend 2 minutes on each team, maybe less than that, because otherwise I won't get through the whole league. But we're going to go team by team, and let's see what these teams need to do to win a championship in the league. Let's start it off. I believe team number 1. We're going alphabetical order. The Anaheim Ducks, baby. Give it to me. The Anaheim Ducks were last in the Pacific this past season. They were trash. Pretty trash, if you ask me. Their leading point getter was Trevor Zegras, 65 points, and Troy Terry also put up 61, but that's not going to cut it. Because you got guys like Matthew Tkachuk putting up 100. You know, you need a guy, you need better stars, you need everything. That team is so far from competing, but it starts with the draft. You have a high draft pick. I believe the Ducks, let me see, the NHL draft order. The Ducks NHL draft order for the 2023 season is something I'm going to need to be looking at quite often. So let me just see. The Ducks have the 2nd overall pick. Okay, that's pretty good. 2nd overall pick will get you talent. You might not get Connor Bedard because he's going to Chicago, assuming they take him, because he's going to get taken there, right? Watch me just manifest the fact that he won't end up a Blackhawk. Watch it happen. I mean, Shane Wright, everyone thought he was getting taken number 1. He gets taken 4th overall, but I'm sure Bedard is a much bigger prospect than Shane Wright ever was. You know what I'm saying? And Owen Power ever was. They were the kind of top 2 guys the last 2 years, but Bedard looks to be up top. Like, up top. He has to be number 1 type thing. So the Ducks have the 2nd overall pick. And now they get a chance to make some moves now, because there's a lot of talent on this board. And with the team they got, I'm absolutely confident they can land some guys. But their team right now, it's just Trevor Zegras at the helm, who will get better. He had a pretty good year. Trevor Zegras and Troy Terry were their 2 guys. Offensively, really put in firepower and did the work on offense. Now, goaltending-wise, they didn't have great goaltending this year. Everyone that was behind the net was either or not so good. So their team could certainly use improvement in the goaltending department, and definitely offensively. Outside of Trevor Zegras being your number 1 center and Troy Terry, that's not even a first line. Zegras and Troy Terry, like, that's their first line because they're the Ducks. But, like, on a team, like, let's say you put those guys on Florida, those guys are, like, third liners. Straight up third line guys. So you need better talent. Adam Henrique cannot be your number 1 left winger. That can't happen. Frank Vatrano's their number 2 left winger, though. Good for him. Good for Frank Vatrano. And their defense. You have Cam Fowler, who put up 48 points as a defenseman. That's good offensive production. That's incredible. I like to see those numbers. And then on the other side, Jamie Drysdale. Now, Drysdale, he was injured a lot this year, so, he's going to be their number 1 guy, probably, in the future. But him being hurt, he didn't do much this season at all, because he played, 8 games, I think. And you had Simon Benoit, who was all right defensively, They put up solid numbers. These guys put in work. And defensive numbers, I just wish there were more accessible stats. I hate how it's so hard to figure out how a guy is. I can't just check that. I could check that, but see, not so simply. So the Ducks need a whole lot. They only won, I think, 23 games this year, which is not going to get you anywhere in this league. So they got to win some games, make some signings, draft some star players, and it'll take them a few years, but they'll be back in no time. Team number 2, the team who plays at Pike, the Arizona Coyotes. All right, we don't even know if they're going to be there for long, so aside from that, let's just look at what they did. They won 28 games this year, their first year in the Central Division, or their second year in the Central Division, my bad. Offensively, Clayton Keller, but that's it. If you want to throw in Nick Schmaltz, 58-point season in 63 games, which is really impressive, and Matthias Michelli, 49 points, 64 games. So those 3 guys can put in work. 2 of them only played 60-something games, though, but if they played a full 82 games, they could have put in some serious work. And Clayton Keller dropped over a point a game. So those are the 3 guys you need to run your offense around. They did phenomenal this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they can keep moving forward. Outside of that, though, you need better power. And goaltending-wise, you guessed it. All these teams at the bottom, they don't have good goaltenders. Connor Ingham was their best statistically, and he was not even their main goalie. Their main goalie was Vejmelka, who slashed an .899 save percentage, so nothing special there. Ingram slashed a .907. It's basically the same thing. So if you're Arizona, first off, there's so much wrong there. It's going to be years before they contend. The first thing they got to do is figure out where they're going to play. They got to figure out who they are first. They don't even know if they're going to be the Arizona Coyotes yet. So before we can discuss roster moves and all that, discuss where you're going to be playing your hockey. Where are you going to be, guys? That's the first thing they got to figure out. Second thing, they have the 6th overall pick. Not necessarily what they wanted, but they did a little better than the worst teams in this league. They were 7th in the Central. So they're going to get the 6th overall pick, and they can get some serious talent there. And this team, keep Clayton Keller, but his dad said he won't be playing there next year, which is really scary for them because this is a team with a lot of issues, so it's going to be years before they can figure all that out. But once everything comes into play, I'm sure they can get everything back on track. And the Arizona Coyotes will be back in the business. Moving on now, Boston Bruins. This took a turn. We went from 2 teams in the tanker to now a team at the very top. What do you do if you're Boston? You just run it back. Plain and simple. You run it back. You won 65 games with this team last year. There's no reason to change anything. What you got to do? Re-sign as many guys as you can. Try to get the roster to what it was. And you just try again. It just wasn't their year this year because they ran into Florida. But run it back and try yet again. You have the skill players. You have Tyler Bertuzzi. Sign that guy. He had the most points out of any of your players in this playoff series against Florida. 10 points in 7 games. Re-sign that guy. Make sure he's on your team. Brad Marchand. Still got it. Taylor Hall, Dmitry Orlov. Each of them had a point a game. Like Jake DeBrusk, Pavel Zacha. You got to keep all these guys, man. Regular season, David Pastrnak dropped 113 points.
Yeah! Oh, yeah!
That's a lot. That's a lot of points. And if you want to look outside of that, you had Patrice Bergeron Brad Marchand, 67 points, 73 games. Patrice Bergeron, 58 points, 78 games. And then they had the amount of 50-point scores on this team. You want to go 45 points and higher? There was 9 guys that dropped 45 points. 45 points is nothing. It's a point every 2 games. But there's 9 guys that did it, which is the crazy part. Charlie McAvoy, 67 points. 67 games, 52 points. Jake DeBrusk, 50-point season, 64 games. These are good numbers. It's just the amount of games played. Like, they can do great work if everybody is working and they got to re-sign their guys that they traded for. And let's not pretend. Linus Ullmark had a bad playoffs, but this man dropped a .938 save percentage in the regular season this year. And then Jeremy Swayman right behind him in the platoon, .920. They have what it takes to win. And they did 65 times this year. They just happened to run into one of the teams that had their number, beat them twice in the regular season, and now 4 times in the playoffs. But you run it back. This is a team that has the abilities. Sometimes it's just fate. Not every time you lose in the playoffs is because you're not a good team. It's just because maybe both teams are so good, one just has to win, one has to lose. So you run it back with the same group, and you bring back the results of what you want. Because this Boston team is absolutely capable. Unless they run into Florida, because then they won't be, but they're capable. Next up, Buffalo Sabres. This is a team that almost made the playoffs. Was right there. Was literally right there. So close. 5th in the Atlantic, 1 point behind Florida. They were right there. The Buffalo Sabres hold a 13th pick in the draft, so they can get some talent there, but not like a crazy amount, but they're a 42-win team, just like Florida. They're right there. Now, Buffalo, let's check out their player stats on the year. Regular season, Tage Thompson, 94 points, almost 100. Incredible. Jeff Skinner, 82 points. Incredible. Alex Tuck, Rasmus Dahlin, 79 points, 73 points. Dylan Cousins, 68 points. Even Casey Middlestat, 59 points. Those top 6 guys are the guys that drop the points for them. You know what I'm saying? And let's look at their lines. So their lines on this team. Skinner, Thompson, Tuck. What a phenomenal line 1 that was. Middlestat, Dylan Cousins, line 2. Does work. And then Rasmus Dahlin being your D1. That gets the job done. The team could use some more defensemen. Of course, you have literal Owen Power, who can turn into a god in the future. The plan is to get him on D1 with Dahlin. That'll be a dominant D1 if he can develop into what he wanted to be, into what they want Owen Power to become. That'll be a phenomenal D-core. You could use some depth D, and your bottom 6 could use work. You have Kyle Poso at the bottom, but your bottom 6 could certainly use work on the offense. Jordan Greenway, Victor Olofsson, Peyton Krebs, and, Kyle Poso. Your bottom 6 could use work. That's what Buffalo needs. But it just needs depth. They have the guys at the top. They just need the depth Maybe it's even better. They could slide some of those top guys down if they get even some great depth and make a splash. Goaltending now. Let's look at their goalies. You got Craig Anderson, who slashed their 908. Devin Levi, breaking through. That's their 905. But the goaltending also could use work. They just had a bunch of serviceable guys playing. If you have a great goaltender, you're going to get places. You're going to get places. And that's what the Buffalo team needs to do. They have skill. They have talent. They're a good team. They need to put some more work in there, and they'll be there back in no time. They can contend. They just got to put the right pieces in play. Here's my favorite one next, the Calgary Flames. What does this team need to do to win? Well, 2 years ago, they were in the second round and got bounced by the Oilers, and it's all fallen apart since then. They got rid of Johnny Gaudreau. They got rid of Matthew Tkachuk. And they got Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar, and it has not. And Nazem Kadri, and it hasn't looked the same. This is a team. Tyler Toffoli, 73 points. Elias Lindholm, 64 points. A couple 56 points guys, and Nazem Kadri, Mikael Backlund. Huberdeau had 55. Who cares? You got Toffoli, you got Lindholm, and obviously you're going to have to ride out Huberdeau. You signed him to the 8-year deal. Nazem Kadri is solid as well. You have to ride those guys out, but you need better offensive depth. Goaltending, I'm confident Jacob Markstrom could get back to his abilities because he was phenomenal. He just had a bad year. He had a bad year. Straight up had a bad year. But he's one of the best. And he'll have a bounce back year. He'll be that guy. They already got a new head coach. New GM. Calgary's changed the direction of the front office. Do they change the guys on the ice? Usually when you change the office, you change the ice too. So changes might be heading their way for Calgary. Got to hold on to Toffoli, Lindholm, give Huberdeau a chance to bounce back. I watched that guy for years be a menace on the ice. Assist after assist after an assist. Maybe not a menace, not like a Chuck, but he's a good player. He's a dang good player. It'd be a shame if they moved on, but they can't. They locked him up for 8 years. Your roster. Elias Lindholm, Toffoli, line 1. But they have to get better. Nazem Kadri is a bottom sixer on this team, which is really odd. Should be in a different spot than that. He's a third-line centerman on this team. And they need more skill in the bottom 6. And in the top 6, honestly. You can use more skill all around this lineup. Defensively, you have Rasmus Anderson playing. 49 points from the D spot is pretty good. Noah Hannafin, they play solid defense. Mackenzie Weegar's great as a second-line D-man. Troy Stetcher's there. Nikita Zadorov. They have a good defense. And you can even see that in the fact that they only allowed 3 goals a game this year, which is pretty solid. Just pretty solid defensive numbers. And they just couldn't win, though. They just couldn't win their overtime group. Their 3-on-3 overtime group is abysmal. Their 5-on-5 hockey's good, but once they got to overtime, they lost 17 games in overtime. That's a lot of points you're missing out on. That's a lot of wins you're missing out on. Because your 3-on-3 game is trash. Get some more offensive talent. You have a good defense, you have a good goalie. Get some offense. This team will be right back in the mix with the others. Next up, Carolina Hurricanes. Running back. Straight up running back. Andrei Svechnikov tore his ACL. This is a team that has the skill to get it done. Been watching this team for years now. They definitely have it. Sebastian Aho, Jordan Martinook, Seth Jarvis, Brent Burns, Jesper Foss. They all put in work. Everyone scored goals in these playoffs. Rough series against the Cats. But everything happens. Their 2 overtime games, Huberdeau game winner, they lost each game by 1 in the Eastern Conference Final. Those games could have gone either way. They could have gone either way. It could be way different right now. Freddie Anderson's a great goalie. Keep him on that team. Antti Ranta's a solid backup. Don't change the goaltending situation. Anderson's a good goalie. In these playoffs, he did great. In the regular season, they had a bunch of guys that did pretty solid work. Keep the goalie situation good. Anderson's a good goalie. You have a good defense. Offensively, Martin Nikas is cool. Sebastian Aho is cool. Brent Burns did 61 points as a defenseman. It's great. Andrei Svechnikov before his ACL tear, 55 points in 64 games. Great numbers. After that, you need better guys to score. You got those core 4 guys. You need better offense. And one of them's a D-man. So you need better forwards. Nikas Aho Svechnikov is a great top of your offense. But, that can't be all it is. You need better guys on offense. Bottom sixers. You need bottom sixers. That's what this Carolina team is missing. Defensively, Jakub Slavin, Brady Skjei, Gostis Beer. They have a good defense. They have a good goaltender. They clearly had good defense goaltending. They won the games 1-0. They lost the games 1-0 and 4-3, 2-3. They were close games with good defense. It's just you need better offense. You need better offense makers because Svechnikov being hurt was a big one. Patrick Reddy being hurt was a big one. Just give them team chance. Give this team a chance. Get some bottom 6 offensive depth, and they'll have totally a shot. Run it back. Run it back with a little bit of tweaks. And Carolina's right back in the mix with the rest of the NHL. Chicago Blackhawks up next. All right, this is going to take a while because this team's not going to be in the shape to perform. For a minute, they're getting Connor Bedard, though. So that's going to be a lot. They were last in the Central this year, 26 wins. Let's see. How many players did they have score a solid amount of points in the regular season? Not a single player over 50 points. But Max Domi got traded, so he's gone. Patrick Kane got traded, so he's gone. 2 highest point scorers. Andreas Athanasio, 40 points, 81 games. So, they're not working with much offensively. You have Seth Jones back there. You got Peter Mrazek had a great game against Pittsburgh to clinch the playoffs for the Cats. Grateful for that, but you don't have the great goalies. Dylan Wells and Jackson Stauber did good, but they're not going to be the guys that constantly play. It was Mrazek that was playing a lot of games. Soderblom and Stalick playing a lot of their games, and none of them really looked great. Khudobin played 1 game, was trash. This is a team that needs everything. That's literally all it is. This is a team that needs every little thing ever. And it starts with Connor Bedard, though. That's a franchise player they're about to get. That's going to be huge for them. If he can live up to the hype, it's going to be huge for them. And that's a big one. That's a big thing you're going to get. And over the next year, just build. Draft capital. Use it to your advantage. Make some moves. Make some signings. And they'll be right back in the mix. They'll be right back in the mix. Just wait. This is a team that won 3 cups in those 2010s, man. They'll be right back in the mix. Patrick Kane out the door, and the door comes Connor Bedard. Chicago, it's going to be a few years of misery, but you can get it back. Next up, the 2022 champs, Colorado Avalanche. Run it back. You had a bad year. You lost to Seattle in the first round. You won the championship last year. You just run it back. Y'all had a season where you were injured all year in the playoffs. Mikko Rantanen. 10 points, 7 games. Devin Taves, 9 points, 7 games. Nathan McKinnon, point a game. Arturi Lehkonen, 6 points, 7 games. Cale Makar, 5 points, 6 games. Even Evan Rodriguez, 5.7 games. Had guys performing all over the place. Pushed Seattle to Game 7, but the Kraken prevailed. And Alexander Georgiev in the playoffs. Solid work, but could have done a little better. In their regular season, Georgiev, again, solid work. Could have done a little better. But he's their goalie. He'll get the job done. He's a solid goaltender. And as far as your skaters go, in the regular season, McKinnon, phenomenal year. Mikko Rantanen, phenomenal year. Makar was injured, but when playing, phenomenal year. Arturi Lehkonen, solid year himself. Valeri Nichushkin was hurt. Great year when he was still hurt. Evan Rodriguez only played 69 games. He only had 39 points. There are guys here. Bowen Byram, 42 games, 24 points. There are guys, I'm convinced, if given a full season, could have done some work. And what really is terrible for them is Gabriel Landeskog is out for the year. That's tough stuff. That's a lot. It's a big L. Hopefully he gets better. But that's going to be the big missing piece. So what do? You run it back. You do a little plug and play. Maybe do a little bottom 6 signings depth. You have a great defense. You have a good goaltender that can complement your defense. No need to touch none of that. You have a great top 6. You have talented guys at the top of your roster. You are the champions of last year. Landeskog is down, but this team was so injured that you run it. You have all-star team talent. You have McKinnon and Rantanen on this team. Like, this is not a group you break up in any way. You run it back, and you're in the race. You're in the race out west. The race out west. Just run it back. If you're Colorado, just run it back. It's as simple as that. Columbus Blue Jackets up next. I don't even know what you do. You signed Johnny Gaudreau to win you games, and he had a solid season. I'm going to be real. 74 points in 80 games. And Patrick Laine had 52 points in 55 games. Boone Jenner, 45 points, 68 games. And, that's, about all the quality players on this team. Other than that, it's not going to happen. Laine, Gaudreau, Boone Jenner, sure. Those are the 3. You need guys. You need more than that. That can't be it. Johnny Gaudreau can't have one more point than Brandon Montour in a season also. You can't be only dropping 74 if you're him. Goaltending. Jet Greaves played one good game. They lost the game, but he was phenomenal. Korpisalo. Phenomenal. But Korpisalo is in LA now, so it doesn't even matter. This team has no goaltending. They need goaltending help, and they need defensive help because you can't be allowing 4 goals a game. That's just not happening. You're not going to win nothing with your defense being Gavin Bayreuther and Andrew Peak as your top 2 D guys. Zach Werenski was hurt and Eric Branson, but that cannot be your top D men. That cannot be your D core. You need a better defense. Get a better offense. You need a whole new team. Johnny Gaudreau's cool. Patrick Laine's cool. Boone Jenner's cool. That's about it. Get a new offense. You need more talent. Bottom 6, top 6, the whole thing. Defense. Top 4. Bottom 3rd line. You need everything. Goaltending, everything. This Blue Jackets team needs everything. But they have the 3rd overall pick. So no place better to start building everything than the NHL draft. Step 1's the draft for them. Keep building and see where it takes you. Next team up on the list, the team who just got eliminated out west, the Dallas Stars. Run it back. That's what they got to do. They got to run it back. Jason Robertson. Phenomenal season with Dallas this year. Playoffs, Roope Hintz, godlike. Robertson, godlike. Pavelski even did some work. Max Domi, Miro Heiskanen, they did work. Jamie Benn, even though he had certainly did some questionable things. These guys put in work. Goaltending-wise, Jake Ottinger. He did not have a good playoffs. But he'll have a bounce back. He was great last year. He was great at times. He's a good goaltender. And he'll be good. He will be there for this team. He's going to be the guy. If they're going to win, it's going to be on the shoulders of the Otter. Don't change your goaltending. Your defense. Let's take a look at your defense. The Dallas Stars defense. Miro Heiskanen. Great. Ryan Suter on the other side. Great. Maybe you change the bottom 3. Maybe you change the bottom 2. You get a little depth. But the top is great on the defensive side. Offensively, Pavelski, Hintz, Robertson. That's a phenomenal line 1. Max Domi's your 3rd liner. Tyler Seguin. But let's look at your stats. How well did your players perform in the regular season? Robertson, phenomenal. Jamie Benn had a great regular season. Joe Pavelski had a great regular season. Roope Hintz, Heiskanen. As a D-man, Heiskanen did work. And then those are the top 5 guys. Mason Marchment was a signing y'all signed, and I love Mush, but 31 points ain't going to cut it in 68 games. They need offensive depth. for sure. That's the problem with Dallas there. Offensive depth. Let's check this Vegas series out. You guys got shut out twice. You won a game in overtime. You had a great game 5. Game 1 was alright solid, but you can't get shut out 0-4, 0-6. That can't happen. And in other games, you lost 2-7 to the Kraken once. You need more than that. And that first series, you lost 1-5 to the Wild, but your offense was still crazy there. Offensive depth is going to help them. And maybe some little tweaks on defense. Just little tweaks around this team. But overall, run it back. You're 2 wins away from the Stanley Cup final this year. You can run it back if you're Dallas. They are a great team. They have all the skills. Just get some depth signings. And let's run it back, and we'll see Dallas next year. That's a promise. Next team up here, Detroit Red Wings. 7th in the Atlantic Division. Your offense consisted of Dylan Larkin, and that's it. Dylan Larkin, and that's it. That's all you need to know. Goaltending-wise, you didn't have... Ville Husso did not do a good job this year. Your offense is just trash. There's no way to put it. Your offense is trash. Okay? Defensively, you got Mo Seider and Ben Sherratt, Mark Syke, Robert Hagg. Damn, it's a lot of former Cats on this team. Jake Wallman, Oli Mata. Your defense is solid. But defense can't win everything when you have a bad goaltender or not a bad goaltender, but Dylan Larkin, you need more offense. That's Detroit's offseason. Get yourself an offense. You have the 9th overall pick. Go draft somebody. Get something done. Bring your offense back, and we'll be talking next year. All right? We'll be talking next year. See you next year, Detroit. Edmonton Oilers up next. Get McDavid and Draisaitl some help. That's it. We've been saying it for years. 20 points for McDavid in 12 games in the playoffs. 18 for Draisaitl. Evan Bouchard put up 17. Zach Heem and Nugent Hopkins did great. But it can't be just them. You need a better goaltender. You cannot have Stuart Skinner going out there and doing what he does. Jack Campbell did great in the one game he played. He should have played more games in that playoff series. He played one game against LA. He allowed only 1 goal, saved 27 shots. And he played against Vegas 3 times as well, in relief of Stuart Skinner. Because Stuart Skinner was playing like trash. He didn't pick up a single loss in the playoffs. Give Campbell some more starts next year. In the regular season. Skinner did good. And Campbell didn't do bad. So I don't know what you're going to do with there. But I don't think it's going to work goaltending-wise. And look at your skaters. McDavid is the god. Draisaitl's a god. Nugent Hopkins a god. 300-point scorers. 1 team. All centermen. You have great center depth. Phenomenal. Invest in your wingers. Zach Heeman's great. And then the offense just falls off a cliff after those 4 guys. Tyson Barrie's cool, but he needs to be... Tyson Barrie, sure. Put him in that group. The offense falls off a cliff after that. You need guys that can put up numbers. You need to invest in your bottom 6, in your goaltending, and your defense. Because your defense right now is Matthias Ekholm and Bouchard. Bouchard's cool. He drops buckets. Darnell Nurse makes a lot of money. Fix it up. Sign some depth. Spread out the money a bit. Maybe get rid of one of your big centers, because it's clogging up a lot of money. But all in all, keep competing. Run it back with a lot of changes, though. Next up, the Florida Panthers. Here's how they win a championship. Win 4 games. That's it. That's all I got to say. Win 4 games, and you win a championship. Then our season's not over. And that's that. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Win 4 games, guys. 4 games. Take it all away. LA Kings. Okay. LA Kings. You still got Anze Kopitar and Adrian Kempe. You got some skill. You won 47 games this year. You're a good team. So what happened? Kempe showed up in the playoffs. Same with Arvidsson, Kopitar. Kevin Fiala was great in his 3 games. Philip Denault, Kopitar, Fiala, Kempe. Great in the regular season. Arvidsson, solid in the regular season. Denault, solid. A lot of 50-point guys. 6 of them. But there's just solid numbers, and then there's superstar numbers. Jonas Korpisalo, that's a goaltender, and that's a good goaltender you're going to keep on. Keep him on that team. Make sure you keep him behind the goal. Keep Korpisalo behind the goal. Make some depth moves offensively, and I think this team will have what it takes to genuinely make some noise. You signed Mikey Anderson to the long-term deal. You have Drew Doughty, who's good. You have Vlad Gavrikov. You have a good defense now. Your offense just needs to come through. Kempe, Kopitar, Arvidsson. You have Fiala there, line 3. Quentin Byfield can come up. Philip Denault. Make some depth signings. Get a little more talent in this roster because it's been 2 years now. You lost to Edmonton. Come on now. But, hey, keep competing. Make some signings. You'll be back. Minnesota Wild up next. For the love of God, don't even forget the cup. Win a round of the playoffs. Win a singular round of the playoffs, please, because you guys every year lose in the first round, and let's talk about why. You need Philip Gustafsson should be the number 1 goalie on the team. Philip Gustafsson is good. Marc-Andre Fleury is not anymore. That's the big problem. Gustafsson should be starting all the time, and they still platooning with Andre Fleury, and he's actually, Marc-Andre Fleury gets more games. That's their first flaw. Switch primary goaltenders on offensively. You have Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Boldy, and Joel Eriksson Ek, and then Ryan Hartman is solid as well. But then outside of that, you have nobody else offensively. You need depth offensively on this team if they're gonna win. Great first line. Your bottom 6 is no. You need a bottom 6 to complement your team, and your defense needs improvement as well. You can't be giving up 3.5 goals a game, and your offense is just trash outside of those guys. You need teams that can score better, and your defense was good in the regular season, but it was bad in the playoffs. So here's what I think. Run it back. Run it back genuinely. Need more power on offense. Your defense is good, and you have a clutch goaltenders. Minnesota will be there in no time. Montreal Canadiens got the 5th overall pick, so use that to your advantage. Your defense, you're just trash, though. Just what you got to do if you're this team. Mike Matheson and Justin Barron can't be your top 2 D-men. Get a whole new defense, because that defense does not have it. Your goaltender cannot be Sam Montembeault and Jake Allen. Get a new goaltending, new defense. You want to talk about offense? I mean, you have Nick Suzuki. That's it. This whole team got hurt, though, realistically. Cole Caulfield will do work. Kirby Doc will probably do work. Nick Suzuki did some solid work, but outside of that, maybe Mike Matheson is pretty solid defensively. You can keep him. Get a whole new everything else, man. But this whole team was injured all year, which is the problem. Get healthy, draft well, make some signings. You need a splash. That's the only way Montreal's coming back into the fold. 31 wins, though. They can make something happen. Just keep your eyes peeled. Watch out. Nashville Predators. They made all the front office moves. Now it's time to make the moves on the ice. UC Saros is still that guy. Give that man, put him in the goal. He will give you work. Offensively, Roman Josi led the team in points. That can't happen. He's a defenseman. Matt Duchene had a down year. Tommy Novak was good, but he was hurt. Philip Forsberg had a good year, but he was hurt as well. Mikael Granlund got traded, so he's gone. So you need a better offense because the offense did not do good enough. The defense did great, and UC Saros did great. Roman Josi is that guy. And UC Saros, those are the 2 best players on this team. Make no mistake about that. That's not what you got to worry about if you're a Preds fan. You got to worry Dante Fabro, Roman Josi, Ryan McDonough, Tyson Barrie, great defense. UC Saros, great. You got to score the puck, though. Your whole team was hurt this year. Johansson, Forsberg, Duchene. And you need talent around them. Invest in the offense, and Nashville will make the playoffs yet again. Next up, New Jersey Devils. The New Jersey Devils. What do they got to do? Just keep growing. The team is growing. They're going to get better. And they're going to run it back and do great things. Akira Schmid was great in the playoffs. Vitek Vanacek was not. So give Schmid some more starts. Give the guys some more starts. I think he was great in the regular season, too. Vitek was good in the regular season, but come playoff time, we saw who the best goaltender was in the playoffs. So give Schmid the role next year. And Jack Hughes, phenomenal. Number 86, sorry. Nico Hischier, good season. Dougie Hamilton, Jesper Bratt, great seasons. Dawson Mercer even put up 56. You need some more depth, though. Like, offensively, you got to have better offensive players. You got to have a better bottom six. They know that fourth line is kind of just there. Daniel and Justin can really talk about what this team's going to need to do to win. They won a playoff series, though, but then they got destroyed by Carolina. You got to score the puck. And the playoffs, the offense didn't do good and the defense did bad. Regular season offense did phenomenal, and the defense did phenomenal. So I feel like it's something turned on its head the wrong way in the playoffs. Invest in the bottom six a little better, those bottom lines, and your defense is looking really good. You got to figure out the goaltender situation. This Devils team will be back in the mix in no time. New York Islanders. Great defense, great goaltending. Get an offense. It's that simple. Sorokin's a god. Your defense has quality players on it. Like, they do. They really do. They have Ryan Pulock, Noah Dobson's a third-line defenseman, which is great. The defensive Sebastian Aho, the other guy. But Bo Horvat didn't look good. Anders Lee, Matt Barzal is your first line. Like, really? Is that for real your first line, bro? Like, come on. Brock Nelson was cool offensively. Matt Barzal, 51 points in 58 games. And that's about it for everybody that performed on the offense. Kyle Palmieri, if you want to talk about it, get a new offense, guys. That's what's going to win you games. Get a new offense, they'll be back. New York Rangers. What do you got to do to run it back? I mean, I don't know. Like, Igor Shesterkin is a really good goaltender, but your offense was great in the regular season, and your defense was great in the regular season. Come playoff time, your defense was still great. Your offense was trash. So you're going to need to get a new offense. You need a new offense. You lost in the first round to the Devils, and you need to get new offense for the playoffs because who knows if all these players are going to play. Panarin, great regular season. Playoffs, what happened? Carter did good. Fox did good. Even Kane did a lot of work offensively, got a lot of assists in the playoffs. Philip Hedl, solid work. Tarasenko, but this offense just completely did not do the job. Do some retooling, maybe make some trades. You never know what you're thinking. The Rangers can be back in no time. As long as they invest and keep heavy with the great defense they have and the great goaltending, they can run through anything. Ottawa Senators. Okay, the Senators, I don't know. Like, you have Tim Stützle and Brady Tkachuk, which are two good guys. And Claude Giroux did phenomenal, honestly, this year. And DeBrincat did good, and Drake Batherson. Outside of those guys, though, you need more. And your goaltending was solid from some guys this year, but your main guys, like Forsberg and Cam Talbot, didn't play that great. So, let's check out your team. Your offense is solid, but your defense was not good. So, you need to improve the defense and the goaltending, and that's what's going to be Ottawa's thing. So, next team here. Philadelphia Flyers. Yeah, your defense was trash and your offense was trash. Get a whole new team. Simple as that. Pittsburgh Penguins. They retooled a lot. Their offense is genuinely good. Their defense was the problem this year. This year, the problem lies in the defense. They retooled the front office. Tristan Jarry, Casey DeSmith. They were solid goaltenders this year, but just solid. I believe in Jarry. He can be the guy to take care of business. Sidney Crosby, phenomenal again. Malkin, phenomenal again. Guentzel, phenomenal again. Even Rickard Rakell, 60-point season. Outside of that, though, Letang had a 40... Okay, Letang we're not going to talk about because I can't bash him. That man had a stroke, dog of the year, came back, had a 41-point season in 64 games. Phenomenal. But you need some more depth. Your bottom six need some more depth. And your defense, though, like, you just need a better D-core. Brian Dumoulin is the D-man opposite Chris Letang, Dmitry Kulikov, like Jeff Petrie, Marcus Pettersson. Like, is that really the defense you want to roll with? And your goaltending situation is not perfect, but it'll figure itself out. Just get better there, and it'll be all good. San Jose Sharks. 4th overall pick. Rough break for them. But they need a better defense and better offense. That's literally how I look at it. Better defense, better offense. Going to get that team back to they need everything. They traded away Timo Meier. They don't got nothing now. Their best skater, Erik Karlsson, dropped 100 points. And Logan Couturier is pretty solid. Thomas Ertl, Timo Meyer's gone. So Alexander Barbanov might be solid, but like this team needs a lot more depth and a lot of work. But start with the draft, 4th overall pick. Make that thing count. Seattle Kraken. One game from the Western Conference Finals. Run it back and keep developing. You're going to be your 3rd season ever as a team. It's going to be your 3rd season ever as a team. And this is a great group. Matty Beniers is a phenomenal player. And he's going to take your team to the next level. Yanni Gourde did great. Jordan Eberle, Justin Schultz, Jaden Schwartz. All these guys did phenomenal. Jared McCann, 70-point season. Vince Dunn, 64. Beniers, 57. He's going to keep getting better. Eberle, 63 points. All these guys put in work. And the goaltending situation. Grubauer was not the best, but the goaltenders could be better. They could be better in the postseason. The goaltending wasn't great, but in the regular season, too. Like, postseason goaltending, Grubauer did better. Martin Jones played his one game and was, he made 2 saves in that one game, so whatever. It was, it was Grubauer doing everything, and he did a solid job. He really did a solid job, and I fully believe this Kraken team can just run it back with the same group and just keep building. Get some more players, get some more depth, and this team will be there in no time with some of the greatest teams. St. Louis Blues. All right, get rid of your crybaby goaltender. That's step 1. That is absolutely step 1. Jordan Kyrou cool. Pavel Buchnevich is cool. Braden Shen is cool. Robert Thomas. Those guys are all great offensively. Jordan Binnington ain't the guy. Thomas Greiss ain't the guy. Need a better goaltender. Your defense cannot be giving up almost 4 goals a game. You need a better defense in front of your goaltender. Nick Leddy and Colton Parayko can't be your top 2 D-men. That cannot happen. Get a better defense, better goaltender, some offensive depth, and your team will be back with the big boys. Tampa Bay Lightning. Run it back. It's quite simple. Run it back. You lost in the first round for the first time in how many years? You went to the Cup final 3 years in a row. Run it back. This team is phenomenal. As long as Andrei Vasilevsky is your goaltender, your offense was still great in the postseason, and it was great in the regular season. Your defense was solid in the regular season, and in the postseason it faltered a bit. This team has all the skill, though. Run it back. Maybe make some tweaks, and this Lightning team can be back where they've been for years. Toronto Maple Leafs. You did look really bad against the Florida Panthers, but you made it to the playoffs. Now, next step, making the 3rd round. What do? You have to have better firepower on offense because against Florida, you scored 2 goals a game. You couldn't get a 3rd. And your defense was okay. In the regular season, they were great on both sides of the puck. But your big guys had to step up. You already got a new GM. That was what you did to get it. That's what they did to make the move to run it back. But just run it back with the same players. Maybe make some depth signings here and there. Goaltenders, Ilya Samsonov did not look good in the playoffs. And he was solid in the regular season, though. But give Joseph Woll a shot. That guy looked good. Give him some more reps, and they'll be back. Vancouver Canucks. Yeah, just burn the organization, bro. Like, you have a bad defense. You have a bad defense in goaltending. Like, your offense is solid, but you're just so poorly run. Oh, my God. It's going to take years, but, hey, this team at least, they have the 11th overall pick, so whatever that can get them. But, yeah, just whatever. Vegas Golden Knights. You want to win a championship, win 4 games. Straight up. That's all I got to say. Win 4 games. Because you're in the same boat as Florida. You're right there. Washington Capitals. You got a new head coach, and you still have Alexander Ovechkin on your team. You keep fighting until that man's career is over. Because it's going to be a long ride, and you're never going to tank as long as he's on your team. Alex Ovechkin's great. Dylan Strom's cool. Kuznetsov, a little bit of a down year. Outside of those 3, the offense looks rough in Washington. Goaltending. Darcy Kemper, solid. Charlie Lindgren, solid, okay. Your defense needs to be better. Your offense needs to be better. but it's not so bad. You still got John Carlson. You still got Rasmus Sandin. That's 2 great defensemen you have on your team. Darcy Kemper can be a solid goalie in front of them, but Craig Smith can't be your first-line winger. You need a... Nicholas Backstrom had a down year this year because he was injured, of course. I think he only played in, I don't know how many games he played in, 39 games. So heal up and get your group ready because you're about to go to war. And this team can be back for Ovechkin's chase for the great Wayne Gretzky's gold title. They got a new coach. Run it back, get some signings, get some help, and they can push again. Lastly, Winnipeg Jets. What do the Winnipeg Jets have to do to run it back? Let's just see one thing. Connor Hellebuck has to play better, first of all. He played great in the regular season because, he is literally Connor Hellebuck. But in the playoffs, I don't know what happened. He kind of fell off, but it might not happen back-to-back years. Kyle Connor's great. Josh Morris, he's a great D-man. Mark Scheifele, phenomenal player as well. Pierre-Luc Dubois, solid guy. Nikolaj Ehlers, before getting hurt, was solid. Blake Wheeler can have a bounce-back year. They have the skills. In the playoffs, their offense was bad and their defense was bad. But regular season-wise, defense was great. You need a better offense. You need guys that can score the puck to join Kyle Connor. That's going to be the problem there. Let's look at their roster. Kyle Connor's line 1, Ehlers line 2. Vlad Nemestikov. Nemestikov cannot be your number 2 center. And Nito Niederreiter can't be your number 2 winger. You need better top 6 and bottom 6 on offense. Your D pair is solid. Brandon Dillon, Neil Pionk, but that's because Josh Morrissey's hurt. Once Morrissey comes back, just wait. Connor Hellebuck's a great goaltender. Give him another shot, and that is all 32 teams in the NHL and what they need to do to win a championship. I cannot believe I did that by myself, but I did it. Ladies and gentlemen listening, I just did 2 hours of Breaking the Ice by myself, and it ends in 20 seconds. This was a phenomenal. I'm so thankful to my crew all year being there with me because, I could not do this without them. Everyone who's been on this show once, just know you'll forever be a member of this show. I thank all of you because this has been a great ride, and doing it by myself, man, this really shows I can't do it without you guys. I did it once. I don't want to try to do it again. But you've been listening to Breaking the Ice here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. This is the end of the show. Cats in 6, baby. I'm excited. Let's run it. Florida Panthers to the cup. I'll see you guys next week, and let's hope they're already halfway there. Peace.